Small step in the right direction every single day mounts up. There's what they call the law of accumulation. Whatever you do keeps on adding on onto itself, keeps on adding onto itself. So when you start something today, even though it's just 5 minutes every day, and you're like, I'm going to be journaling 5 minutes every day. Because trust me, journaling clears your mind and helps on clarity and even intentional living. It can help you be more aware of things that maybe you need to focus on. Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. This is the Scoop 101 podcast. I'm your host Samuel Sharma, and today we're going to be talking about why intentional living matters. So I just have a simple question to ask you. Are you living or you're just existing? Because this is something that is really key to any sort of life you may think of having or you may actually want to have. Are you living or you're just existing? There are many people who are just existing, they're not really living. And the way you can simply tell this, I'm just giving you an example, is ask yourself what is next. If you're this kind of person who doesn't have really what is going to be next in your life, and you're just moving to where life will push you, or you're counting your cards or whatever you're doing, depending on what is going to be the outcome of the situation you're in right now, you're basically just existing, you're not living. And so let me just break down that with why this topic really matters. So intentional living is basically you being conscious of what you're doing and basically living a life with intention. And if I'm to just read here what intentional living is: a conscious lifestyle choice to align your daily actions and decisions with your personal values, beliefs, and goals rather than passively letting it happen to you. So you clearly get the thing that if you're this kind of person who just lets life happen to them, you're not intentional living. And as you go further in this podcast, you're going to see why this really matters to you and the effects of you just existing. So if I'm to just go a bit down, because I made a small presentation here, I'm going to just give you guys a personal story and a background. You can maybe, I don't know, find a way of using this. But a few months ago, I discovered that I was just existing. Why? You discover that even sometimes when you have some big accomplishments, you do something, at the end of the day, you feel empty. You discover, I don't know why, sometimes you just find yourself asking yourself, is this really what I want to do? Or you find yourself feeling empty, can I say? And even though you don't, you're this type of person who is going to be moving around, other people are making progress, and you're just, can I say, swaying around, being pushed around by things. You don't really know what is next at some point. And in case, like, for example, my own personal stuff, they would call for people who want to join the chess club, I would go. They'd call for people who want to join the Scrabble club, I would be one of the first ones. They'd call those on the football team, home economics, and I would just be literally everywhere. And yes, I was doing some good work, I was learning a lot of things, but I had no direction. And it may sound cool and may sound, oh my god, you could do all those things. I'm not saying that I was successful in all of them. Some of them I flopped really badly. But still, at the end of the day, you discover that I had no direction and I was just moving around, which was a really big waste of my time. So that is one of the disadvantages of not living intentionally, of just existing. You're wasting a lot of time. And so I'm going to briefly go into the benefits of intentional living. And one of them is clarity. When you start and you decide to live intentionally, when you, can I say, set your life to move a certain path and you focus on those goals and stuff like that, there's a lot of clarity you get, whether it's making decisions, whether it is speaking to people. There's a certain amount of clarity that you have that many people don't have. For example, if it is starting up a business and you, can I say, you want to start up something, but you just don't know exactly where to go. So if you've been this person who has been living intentionally and not just being swayed around by life, you'd actually have, can I say, a clear focus on what to start. And I'm going to give you guys another example from my own life. When I was starting out my YouTube channel, I often didn't know where exactly to fall. I kept on trying out different things because many of them were good. And this is something I would like to tell you guys: not every brilliant idea is the right idea. Not every good idea is the right idea. Some ideas are very good for consumption, some ideas are very good to try out, but they're not exactly the kind of thing you belong to. So you should be very careful while choosing what to do. And that was a problem that I made, because I tried out maybe, can I say, recording content, like maybe vlogging. I also tried out just, can I say, different kinds of content. I tried out maybe recording my screen while doing something. I tried tutorials. I tried just not different kinds of things, motivational videos. I did all those things, but the problem wasn't that I was bad at most of them, because most of them I would post like 1 or 2 videos and I would switch topics as evidence stands for itself, so I won't go much into that. But that was the whole point. I didn't have that clarity, and if, can I say, I'd been living more intentionally in the past few weeks, months, I would have more clarity and stuff like that. So that is one of the advantages of intentional living. There's a lot of clarity that you get. And for those of you who haven't really got the whole scope of intentional living, this is basically a mode of life whereby you're cautious of the decisions you're making. You know what exactly you're going for, and you're not just being pushed around by life. For example, if you wake up in the morning and you're living intentional, that is your goal of the day. You have a bunch of goals that you're setting out, and you're like, you know what, so today I'm going to maybe read this book, I'm going to journal in my notebook, I'm going to revise this subject, I'm going to maybe write this report. Not you just saying that, I'm going to, can I say, do this. If my boss calls me and they need my report, I'll start doing it, because that is how literally some people are. And for example, in schools, that is why things like homework exist. It's because there are people who, I'm not attacking anyone, there are people who don't live intentionally, so homework reminds them to do what they're supposed to be doing. And I'm also not the best, I'm not the one with a clean slate, but that is the whole point. For example, that is why some of those systems exist. And if you don't really have a personal timetable, something that you follow in your life, that is one of the biggest indicators that you're not living intentionally. You're just swaying around and being moved around by life. So another benefit of having, can I say, living intentionally, having an intentional life, is the focus. There's a lot of focus that you have, and I was talking about being swayed and pushed around by life. You see, right now my YouTube stands at around 80 to 83 videos, and all those videos are broken down in many different segments of different things you could look at, from maybe me posting tutorials to me posting a bit of this, a bit of that, a bit of that. And literally I had no focus. Why? I was moving around from side to side. For those who may not be familiar, the YouTube is ScoopForge, and that was my problem. I was moving from side to side, side to side, and basically I had no focus. I was like an arrow with 5 heads. There is no way that arrow is going to fly straight. Each head is going to be attacked by different dynamics, and basically to be slower. So that is the progress kind of part of it. I had no focus. And so that is one of the biggest disadvantages also, apart from being, can I say, having no clarity and wasting a lot of time and stuff like that. Focus is something else. You're going to be this kind of person who is having 20 hobbies, but all of them are done to 10%, 20%. And trust me, somebody who has one hobby that they have done to 50% will beat your 20 that have been done to 10%. Another thing that is a very big benefit of living intentionally is the energy management. There is a way you don't waste so much energy when you know what you want in life. If you're this kind of person who's going to just wake up in the morning and you'll be like, after reading my Bible and doing my morning exercises, yoga, whatever you do, meditation, I'm going to, can I say, read this book. For example, I'm reading this No Excuses by Brain Tracy. You're going to read that book, and you'll do that until maybe an assignment pops up or something like that. You're going to waste so much energy, because you realize after 10 years that maybe you've been playing now, for me, not in a bad way. I know sometimes skills are good to develop, but if you had put that energy somewhere else, it would be much better. So I've been playing chess for a very long time. And it is this year that I actually decided that chess is not really my thing. I'd just been playing it because maybe, can I say, I was fairly good at it and stuff like that. But it's not really a place I wanted to get interest in, can I say, to become a grandmaster and I am to get any title. I was just playing it as a hobby, but it was taking up so much of my time. I remember last year, it took up almost 40% of my time. If I wasn't reading in class or doing something with friends and maybe in the chapel stuff, I was just playing chess and stuff like that. And it is this year where I was like, you know what, chess is not really in my career path. I'm going to go do something else. But look at how much time I had wasted. It's not exactly wasting, but the thing is that anytime you spend that is not in the direction where you want to go to, it's basically wasted time. It is good to learn skills and stuff like that, but now how is, can I say, how is a race car driver knowing how to dig going to be a useful skill? I know you guys have all sorts of excuses for that, but look at the amount of energy wasted. That could have been probably used to do something that is much more beneficial in what you want to do. So that energy management becomes a big factor of this. Then lastly, which is one of the biggest, is achieving goals. Somebody who is intentionally living achieves way more than somebody who is not. For example, I give you guys a clear example of myself. I would play chess, I would play football, I was into Scrabble, I was into that, I was into this, I was into podcast, I was into YouTube, I was into vlogging, I was into so many things. And right now, To be honest, I've achieved no major progress in any of them. All of them I'm fairly good or below average. That is where I am. Not because I am bad, not because I am the dumb one, but because my energy was not focused and I had no specific goal I was working towards. Somebody who began with chess first for like maybe 6 months, then moved on to another, maybe to YouTube, then moved on to Scrabble, would be far much better. So one of the biggest advantages of intentional living is the fact that you have, you have a stack or a collection of goals that you've just worked on, and they're just there to, complement all what you've been doing. You achieve so much more compared to somebody who's not living intentionally, someone who's just being pushed around by life. And then I'm now going to be talking about the common pitfalls or what people get wrong when it comes to intentional living. Sometimes when people think of intentional living, they think of perfectionism, or being perfect in whatever you do. But that is not the case. Intentional living basically means knowing what you want, or narrowing down to what you want and pursuing it. Or maybe there could be a couple of things. You don't exactly have to narrow down to one, but knowing that for this period of time I'm going to focus on these things. But these things of jumping around, like what I've been talking about, having no direction and stuff like that, having no focus, that is where the problem comes from. So many people confuse intentional living with being a perfectionist. That is not the case. You don't have to be perfect at what you do. All you have to do is to know what you want and pursue it. Have a goal, have maybe a schedule you're following. And even better, you can have a goal per hour, per day. Instead of having a monthly goal, you can have a big monthly goal and then break it down into small things so that you don't waste time. I know many of you think you have time, but the fact is that we don't have time. You only have 20 years, from 0 to 20, you're learning stuff. From 20 to 40, you can be maybe implementing that stuff. Then from 40 to 60, you'll start making a bit of money, or you start building up your career. And then by 60, look at 60, most people by 50, they're already growing gray hair. Many all of us think we have time, but just look at how much time you've wasted. Look at now and maybe your birthday last year. Look at how much time has been there. And you may say, oh, Shama, it has been 12 months, or Shama, it has been like 8 months or something like that. But look at how much you've covered and how much time you've lost. When you compare that distance, you discover that you actually don't have time. Like for me, I would often mess around in school. I'm still in school, but I would often not take it seriously until one day I realized that we actually don't have time. Why? I opened my eyes and I realized that, oh my God, it's already mid-term examinations. And I was like, I thought I had time, which I did, but the fact is that when I looked at how much I had covered, because I was, on autopilot, unintentional living, where just existing as an autopilot, I had enough notes, my books had content, I had few summaries, I had stuff like that. But when I looked at how much time I had and how much I had done, I was like, this is not really it. Because when it came to my brain and how much I had taken in, it didn't really account. It wasn't, it wasn't measuring up to that standard. So that is one of the things people get the most. People think you have to be perfect in everything you do and stuff like that, which is not the case. Intentional living just means knowing what you want and pursuing it, having a goal, Then another problem, or so what people get wrong when they think of intentional living is, people think intentional living is rigid, whereby it's a structure, you must follow it, you're all robot-like, you must do this, that, you can't change. But that is simply not the case. Look at, maybe for example, I often refer to musicians. Why? Musicians have this kind of work schedule whereby they are getting work done, they are living the kinds of lives they want. Some of them are happy, most of them are happy. But if you look at their life, if you're an outsider and you look at their life, you'll be like, bro, that guy is not serious at all. And there are different types of people who do that. That does not mean that you have to wake up at 5 a.m. You have to be in bed by 10 p.m. You have to eat meals at this time. That doesn't mean, okay, I know I've talked about timetables, but that is not exactly what I meant by intentional living. It just means having a plan for each segment of time, knowing what you're going to be doing in this time. It doesn't mean you have to be like a robot or like a train, or for example, an aeroplane. If you come 5 minutes late, you've been left. If you come even 1 second late and the gate has been closed, you're not going to enter the plane. That is not what intentional living is. It's basically having a plan. You may not, it may be hard to have a timetable, because now for some people, you're living in a situation or in an environment whereby you cannot control what you do at which time. But what you can do and what I can help you with is to tell you that you can control what activities you're going to do in the day. If you know anytime you could be called and you're maybe, for example, you're a firefighter and you don't know, anytime an emergency can come up and you'll be called. But you're like, I don't want to just spend a day there lousing doing nothing. So you can be like, my goal for the day is today maybe to read one chapter in this book, or maybe to journal, and you keep it open. So any free time you get, you do that. As you're waiting, you do that. Instead of just sitting there, you're like, oh, maybe I can read this, or maybe I can do that. Because trust me, when you wake up with a goal in mind, your day is much more different. And trust me, you can just try this out yourself. Even on that day where you won't do that goal, or where you won't, succeed in doing what you wanted, you will sleep knowing that, Shama, I forgot to do this, and I felt bad about it. Because that is how our brains work. That is what the subconscious is. Once you put something into your brain, for example, I'm sure many of you have ever felt this whereby you think about a certain question, but you fail to get the answer. And you get distracted, you do other things. After some time, that question comes back and you're like, I failed to get the answer. Many of us think that it's just our greed to get answers, but that is how our brains work. In case something has been incompleted, our brain stores it for later. So that is something you could think about. So that is the thing. Most people think that intentional living means being perfect and rigid, but that is not the case. You don't have to be a statue or still, and you also don't have to be a perfectionist. You just have to have a plan for what you're going to do next. And that has been, as I've been talking about the benefits and what people get wrong about intentional living, I've indirectly also hinted on what you guys can do to start living intentionally. One could be have goals, set goals. You don't have to have a giant goal. For example, you start YouTube right now and you're like, by December, I have to be in 1,000 subscribers. I have to be like 1 million. I have to be famous. I have started a business today. By tomorrow, I have to be making tens of thousands of dollars. No, just start with a small step and move towards the direction. You don't have to be all perfect and stuff like that. So how you can start practically living intentionally is have a goal. Literally, intentional living has its intention. When you do something intentionally, you do it with, cautiousness. You do it with that zeal and you're like, you know what, I'm into this and I want to get this done. So you can start by setting goals. You can have somebody, you can tell those goals to somebody and you're like, be my accountability outside, because trust me, that works. When you know that somebody is going to look at you for failing to accomplish a goal, there's some sort of pressure that is going to be put onto you so that you can actually achieve that goal. It's kind of the factor of using, shame to motivate you. So that is one of the most practical steps, basically. Set goals. And then something else that you'd probably want to do is to know where you are right now. So you can probably do this right now. You can pause the video or the podcast. Then you get a piece of paper, clean piece of paper, and write down. You write down what you want to do, or you write down something about yourself. You try. You just try to find out where you are right now. You can maybe write down what you're good at, what you're not good at. You basically try to self-evaluation. You do a bit of a self-evaluation activity. You can find out a bit about yourself so that you know where to start. For example, in case you're like, okay, Shama, I'm tired of living, just existing, and I want to really push this further, you can be like, okay, what do I want in life? You start from there. You write down, maybe I want to be an engineer, or maybe I want to get a PhD, or maybe I want to start a business. You start from there. What do I like? You basically build it up like that. And so that has been most of the video, and I'm going to just give you guys a few reflection points. Literally, you can start today. Last year, I read a very sensational book called Atomic Habits. You guys should probably check it out. It's a really good book. And one of the things I loved most about it was the concept it brought out, which was small habits, or small things compound over time. You don't have to start by moving a mountain. You can start by doing something small. A small step in the right direction every single day mounts up. There's what they call the law of accumulation. Whatever you do keeps on adding on onto itself, keeps on adding onto itself. So when you start something today, even though it's just 5 minutes every day, and you're like, I'm going to be journaling 5 minutes every day. Because trust me, journaling clears your mind and helps on clarity and even intentional living. It can help you be more aware of things that maybe you need to focus on. So start with one small step today. You don't have to wait for tomorrow. You don't have to wait for materials. In case you want to start something, you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to have everything down. The biggest problem is you not doing anything. So as long as you start on that journey, that's all that matters. And that has been today's episode. I hope you guys learned something more. This has been answering the question of why intentional living matters. Thank you guys so much for listening and watching. You can check us out on Scoop 101 podcast on Spotify. If you're not already familiar with our YouTube channel, you can go to Scoop Forge on YouTube, and we'll see you guys in the next one.